Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Off Key Online. On today's episode, we have Meher who will be joining us now.
Hi, I'm Meher. I work in artist management and I am kind of like a pseudo dancer. And yeah,
What have you been doing these days?
well, I have a full time job, so that takes most of my time. Actually, I'm kidding. That does not take most of my time, and my boss is gonna kill me when he sees this interview. I spend a lot of my time working on a project that I am trying to build called Artisan. Because I finally got myself back into dancing properly. I am also trying to write a book, and I am basically trying to read so that I can write the book. Spending time with my dog and my family, and it's good.
And
I
how
like
are
to
you doing mentally? Like, how are you coping with the whole lockdown situation?
honestly, I think it's touch and go. I think there are days when I'm doing really well and I'm trying to stay busy, and that's just in general been like my way of dealing with everything that's happening has just been staying busy and trying to give myself extra work so I don't spend a lot of time thinking about the things I can't do right now. So I mean I do that mostly, but I think that there are days when like I really just want to meet a friend or sit with someone, and I'm in general I think I'm more people person. So I think for me that's been kind of hard. I miss just being able to walk over and like grab a coffee with someone. So I think it's been touch and go for sure. I also, I mean, obviously in the chat that we're having is also I've dealt with mental health. I've had a lot of that, and I think it's also some days just particularly harder because in general you're trying to fight like this thing. Um, this like weird voice in your head, and then you can't do a lot of the things that you would normally do to make yourself feel better or to like convince yourself that it's worth getting out of bed or going out and doing something, and you can't do that anymore. So you have to work a little like 1%, 2% harder to just be able to do those basic things. So uh yeah, I mean I think that it's good and bad.
Yeah, like everyone, like one day you're perfectly fine, and the next, like you're just upset and sad, and like maybe there's no reason to be, but like it's okay to be regardless. But like, what are some of the things that you used to do before to feel better?
I think one of the biggest things for me is I would go to my best friend's house. I think also going for dance classes, particularly like dancing on your own is one thing, but classes in again, it's one of those like infectious moments, you know. So if you can get yourself to get to the class, like if you can get past that barrier, it's amazing, you know, and you come out of it feeling happier and more energetic. And I think that's something that was very important to me. What else? Dude, live gigs.
Yeah.
100%. Honestly, I would go for a walk. Even if it was raining. Like I think some of my happiest walks have just been in the rain. And I know that sounds very filmy, but it feels to me it's very like cleansing, you know. I've actually tried something new this time with regards to my whole like mental health journey. Um I've been in and out of therapy for a couple of years now. And actually, like a friend of mine in Bombay introduced me to a coach, right? And she's like she's my part therapist, part coach, and she is the most phenomenal person I have met. It's not as one-sided as therapy can be. Like it's more conversational. She'll talk to me about like experiences that she's had in her life and things she's been through, and we're sort of just seeing this as time to explore who I am. And I think one of the biggest problems that I faced in my life is that I tend to get very caught up in what other people need from me or what they want me to be. You know, and it ends up meaning that you also tire yourself out because you're not looking out for yourself as much. And I, somewhere along the line, I feel like I lost some sense of just what I wanted from even a regular day. We've just been spending time figuring out what I want, and I think this is actually a really good time to do that. If you need a day to just sit at home and say, okay, you know, like I'm not satisfied with where I am at, what does that mean for me? I feel like this is a really good time for that. And that's genuinely what I've been doing, where I'm no longer looking at this in a sense that I need to fix myself. Because there is something very real that I dealt with and I continue to deal with. And it's sort of become a part of my life, right? Like I deal with depression and I deal with anxiety on some days, and it's there. You know, I fixed it in a lot of ways. I've reached a point where it's not physical for me anymore. I get around, I do what I need to do in a day, and all of that is great. But I think the problem at some point reached the fact that I wasn't happy with what I was doing anymore or where I was at. And a lot of that comes from like, obviously, how I'm also seeing myself. And I've spent a lot of time believing that my depression was a problem that I had to fix. And that if it didn't go away entirely, that I would always be sort of broken. You know what I mean? Every time I get on a call with her and we spend time just trying to understand, let's see, what are the things that we spend time figuring, what my goals are, obviously, what are the relationships that I really value in my life, what are things about those relationships that work for me or don't work for me and I would like to fix. And it's actually given me some really interesting answers, you know, like the fact that we don't necessarily give ourselves the time that we want, or we don't necessarily engage in the same kind of things that are just good for us. I think we spend a lot of time hating ourselves, but not a lot of time figuring out why we hate ourselves and what we hate about ourselves and how like we can be okay with that.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's been like a game changer.
I mean, definitely like what you said about like depression being something that, you know, you have to sort of learn to live with. So I went through the same thing, like similar sort of thing, like last year, and like I went to therapy also for a while. This was when I was in Singapore, so I found someone there who I really liked. I wanted to do it with the idea that, you know, I want the depression or whatever I was feeling to go away, like, you know, because I was in my final year of college and there was so much like mentally that I had to give there that I wasn't being able to. And I just thought that, okay, if I go here, if I talk to this person, I'll get better, I'll be fine, I'll be able to like graduate and leave and go, like, you know, get on with my life. That was the point. But like, I think over time, I have also realized that, like, you know, even now, even though I'm better, like, there can be something that can take me back to that point, like when I was at my lowest. And like, and then I can, but it's just, you have to kind of allow yourself to feel that as well, even though it's like hard. And you kind of have to figure that, you know, like, it doesn't just get better automatically, it doesn't just go away. Like, it is something that you just have to figure out for yourself and figure out how to deal with it, what helps, what doesn't help. So it's like a whole, like, it's a long process. But yeah.
I think for me, it's been a lot of like, the lack of hope becomes very characteristic of it for me. And I don't know if that's something that is the same experience for you, because obviously it's very different for everyone. But I think really trying to figure that out, because everything else, I think if you're at least a little hopeful about it, you will get yourself out of bed.
Yeah.
That lack of hope and that lack of like, okay, maybe I can turn this day around, is extremely debilitating. we don't spend enough time, like you were saying, just stressing what you need to feel better. Having someone around when you're dealing with it is very hard on the other person. So it's very important for you to try and spend time understanding what you need from that person in those moments. Even on your worst day, you'll get better at dealing with it. And I actually remember this conversation really, really well, but I asked a really close friend of mine who's been dealing with anxiety for years, if it ever gets better. It was as simple at 9, and I was having a terrible day, and we were in a car, and we were coming back from work, and I was exhausted. And I literally just looked at him and I was like, okay, does this ever get better? And he said, does it go away? No. Do you get better at dealing with it and like figuring out your own head and knowing and being like easy on yourself? 100%. And I think I've really clung to that, that it may never go away, but that's okay. Like, as long as I can figure my own like navigation through this time, I'll be okay in general. And I think like this entire time has, for me, the last like year has just been trying to figure that out. And I'm still trying. So it's not easy.
Yeah,
but
it's not easy at all. And it's like really important to give yourself enough time to do it.
Yeah.
Because like for me, because all of this happened to me when I was in Singapore and I was away from family and I was with my friends and everything, which there were kind of, Lord, Sanya's here, but there were like two sides to it. But because on one hand, it was like I was away from my family and everything, which was hard in itself. And on the other hand, I was with my friends who were also my family over there. But like in your final year of college and stuff, when everyone is dealing with their own shit, like it's so hard. And like I feel like I tried my level best, which I probably was not that good, but I really tried to hide it or just not put it on anyone else, because sometimes you feel like guilty also, like it's my thing, like no one else really has to deal with it or see me like this or whatever. So that is, I mean, even though I knew that okay, these people are there for me, they will be there for me no matter what, like I knew these things, but at the same time I was just like, oh my god, like honestly, stop it. But yeah, so but just also, yeah, like having them around also definitely helped a lot. And just to, I mean, it was nice, like sometimes you just get out of that space. So like it's super important to have people around who like understand you and understand what you need without you having to say it also sometimes. And like that is definitely something that I had with these three people. That one is here. So um yeah, basically, yeah, that is also something that I'm super thankful for, and that like really helped me kind of process everything else that was going on in my head.
Honestly, I think firstly, in my head, you're really lucky.
Yeah.
Because I think like my experience of it was extremely different. I think I had people who tried a little bit to understand where I was at, but really not trying to make it easier on me in any form or manner. And in general, as a person, and I've been having this conversation with my mom a lot on this journey of self-discovery, is that I don't like asking for help very often.
Yeah.
So I'm very hard on myself when it comes to asking for help. I've been in a lot of situations, I think, especially in college, where I realized that I had to go through it on my own in a lot of ways. And that was really the only way that I was going to be able to get through this. And so I actually feel like I tried to toughen myself up even more, which when I moved to Bombay became the hardest thing for me, because I was basically pushing people away. all the time. And I had like flipped to the whole other extreme of this spectrum where I was like, okay, I don't need anyone. I'm fully sorted, fully confident, can do everything on my own, like, and I realized today that obviously that's not even like 1% of what I was at that point. And I like having people around. So what I'd eventually done is just like push people away and been like, okay, become very emotionally like, what is the word I'm looking for? But very
like kind of detached from
kind of like I mean it's funny because I feel like I was still very good at like making people feel like I was there emotionally.
Yeah.
It's one of those like places where it just became one of those loops where I was doing things because it was normal. I distinctly remember also like going out for gigs with people at a time when I was very like I was still extremely like turned off emotionally, and just standing on the terrace and like great gig happening downstairs, and everyone's excited, and I want to be excited because I feel like I'm taking away from their night, where I'm feeling like if I'm not happy, are you then gonna like be worried about me and you're not gonna be happy, like and so like forcing yourself to look happy and act happy and be happy in some way, but it's not really how you're feeling. And I think that like my experience of it was a lot of that, of just a lot of pretending to make sure that people would see you as not the depressed girl, you know what I mean, like not sad all the time or whatever.
Like this is the first time actually I've heard anyone else say this. Like I don't know, maybe like I don't know if it was just me, but like I definitely felt very weird about this because I don't remember know if Sanya remembers, but I always had this feeling like, okay, I should be happy about this, right? Why am I not feeling anything? Like, is this like, am I like dead inside? What is happening? I don't know. So for the longest time, I would just be like, I don't feel anything. Like, I can't feel anything. I have no emotions. My emotions are dead. All these things, I would just keep thinking. And like, slowly, that has changed now quite a bit. But like, yeah, there was this whole phase where I was just like, I don't have any feelings, like they're just gone, like they don't exist for me. I don't know what emotions are anymore, which is very weird, but like I didn't know other people also feel this, so thank you, now I do. I'm
glad other people feel like it, so I think this is. But when I would first talk about my depression, I think a lot of people had this very common belief that I was like strong for talking about it or whatever. And I realized that like I'm okay talking about it because I'm fairly comfortable with what has happened now. And I don't see why I should not be okay talking about the fact that I was depressed. Like, cool, like it happened. It's a huge part of my life. It's been what? How old are we now? 23. So it's been whatever, 5 years since it happened, and 5 years of like a relationship with depression that I know and I understand, and I've had some bizarre experiences where people have made me feel like crap for it. I still remember very, very distinctly my first production internship. I used to self-harm, so I've had a very like personal relationship with it, and I never made it a point to hide it, because for me it wasn't like when you're in the middle of like a negative thought or a negative feeling, you're not thinking, okay, should I do it on a place where it is not visible to people, or like that's not your first line of thought. And I remember someone coming up to me and saying on set, looking at me and looking at my arm and being like, तो artwork हो गया तुम्हारा? And I was like, where do I even start with this statement? You know, like, it was mind blowing to me for a second. I think I wish people were a little more comfortable talking about it, because I feel like people also try and make jokes about it when they don't understand it. So to him, it may have been funny, or it may have been him trying to like break the ice or whatever, however you want to justify that. I think when you're 18 and like 17, 18, and you're just doing your first job, and you're, you know, there's this full like race to try and prove yourself and do things, and you know, and like someone starts looking at you differently because you've maybe been depressed, or you've been anxious, or you've been self-harming, or you've had like a whatever, like a tempestuous relationship with yourself. I think that is something that I wish people would not would understand a little more about. You know, like if we could, as people, just normalize the idea of talking about this, and not in the way that we talk about it in most contexts today, which is, yes, so there is this really stigmatized thing called depression. We have now finally reached this idea of, we accept that it is a mental health condition, but we still don't treat it like it's normal in that sense. Like if you're dealing with it, your interactions, people don't make you feel like it's normal. You only think it's normal in the sense that, like, yes, it exists. We haven't reached the other side of it, where like actually people who are dealing with it can feel comfortable
Talking
engage
about
in any like conversation about it. Which is why a lot of people still feel the need to like not admit that they have any mental health issue, or not like bring it up, or even if you can talk to your friends about it, you make it a point to never talk about it. Like, and I mean, that's been really like important for me. I think just like trying to own my story in my own way. Like, I'm just not, I guess I'm not scared of it the same way. You know, like, if you have a problem with it, you have a problem with it. There's not much I can do about that. But it is definitely a big part of my story, and it's given me a lot of important like lessons where 100% set high goals for yourself. 100%. Be ambitious. I definitely think I'm an ambitious person, but I have to remind myself every now and then that I also deal with this thing. I also have, like everyone else in the world, whether or not you deal with mental health issues, I have bad days and good days, and some days I can't push myself as hard. And as I'm growing older, my body is changing. I get tired. You know, and it'll come and go, I guess. Like I said, it's understanding that your lives are also touch and go. But just like I think going easy on yourself a little. Like, I think my main takeaway from all of this, from therapy, from the lockdown, from the time that I've just been spending, and from my relationship with work and everything I've tried to do since I don't even know when, is just spend a little more time understanding myself. Because I don't think we do that enough. I don't think we really know what we do to ourselves when we're like so relentless. I don't think we realize just what we want. I don't know. I know some people who are extremely sorted and know all of this, and we all know them, and they're mind blowing, and I full respect to them. I'm still learning.